So yeah, we're back with even more Shacknews awards. We're gonna do the Shacknews Award for Best Comeback of the year 2021. And this is open. You can talk about a game franchise, you can talk about a company, you can talk about the Cleveland Cavaliers beating the Golden State Warriors in the year 2016. There's all sorts of great comebacks. Because the Warriors blew a 3-1 lead in the NBA Finals.
Yeah, they sure did. I'm gonna.
If I ever forgot, you'd be there to remind me.
Yep.
And that was a great Cleveland Cavaliers moment.
Let's jump in.
I'm sure you're really enjoying your retirement home in LA, Ozzy.
Yeah, I'm enjoying what Russell Westbrook has done to the Lakers.
Oh man, over there at Crypto.com Stadium.
Before we completely get off topic,
the crypto arena.
Let's jump right into it, Blake. The fools. Yeah. They said that Metroid couldn't do it on the Switch. They said that's not a successful Nintendo franchise.
Oh man, allow me to nominate this year's winner of this category, Metroid Dread. Mic drop. There, that's all that needs to be.
2D Metroid is Metroid Dread. It's the Metroid franchise.
Well, the Metroid franchise, then, yeah. Well, it's back, and it's back in a big way, and that's because Metroid Dread is a return to form of what makes the Metroid series so
David, I think you said it's your favorite 2D Metroid or second favorite 2D
Yeah,
Metroid?
I'm gonna go with a contrarian opinion here, and this is this gets my vote as well. But I'm just gonna say it: Super Metroid is one of the most overhyped games of all time. Of all time.
Powerful stuff.
You made a powerful enemy.
The gavel.
Order.
I'm going to tell you why.
You in contempt.
No.
I'm going to tell you why.
No. I'm not listening.
No, but you are listening, Blake, because you're going to like where this goes. You're going to like where this goes, okay? Because I'm on your side here.
It's a journey.
Super Metroid is a game predicated on just shooting around and hoping you blow a hole somewhere and maybe you roll through it. Ever since Metroid Fusion, 2D Metroid games have finally gotten their shit together and equaled the high quality of Metroid Prime by making exploration more logical and organic and compelling. Again, Super Metroid is tremendously overhyped, but Metroid Dread is, I have a lot of issues with this game actually. But I stuck with it through 100%. I had a blast during most of it. Enough of it that I can overlook the parts I didn't like because I just wanted to keep playing. I mean, Blake, how many times did I send you the videos I uploaded to Twitter about like doing some awesome parkour-esque shit to get some out of the way missile pack or E-tank part or whatever?
You got some stuff that I don't have the hand-eye coordination to do. Like, I'll never be a surgeon.
I'll tell you, the analog stick did not make it easy, but it's Nintendo proved a lot with Metroid Dread. I still think it's probably one of their less commercially successful franchises, being that all things are relative. But this game, because of the Switch install base and because of this kind of critical mass of desire for a new 2D Metroid, I really enjoyed Metroid Dread, and I think it probably did more to bring Metroid back than I think Prime 4 will do. Like, nothing against that game, but like Metroid Prime 4 never really excited me, even though I love the Prime games, because it's like the fourth one of those. I was really excited about Dread because it was its own thing. Like, yes, it's a 2D Metroid, it's going to adhere to a lot of that formula, but it's a new game without the baggage of being a sequel to 3 other games.
Yeah, my problem... if I can, really quickly. My thing with Prime has always been, Prime is Metroid trying to conform to what's popular at the time, to where like companies thought games were going, like, instead of being true to the Metroid formula. And I feel like this is like saying, yes, we'll give you Prime, because I know there are a lot of people that feel differently about Prime than me. But it's saying, like, for people like me who love Super Metroid and think that it was the greatest like Metroid game up until Metroid Dread, I think it's saying to them that like that's like Nintendo respects Metroid's history and where it's been, and it's going to be a part of its future. And like that's one thing I really appreciate it is it's a love letter to every side-scrolling Metroid that's come before it, and improves vastly on the formula. I have my own issues with it too, about the control schemes and things like that. I know you don't like the Emmys that much. I thought the Emmys, like this series is so inspired by Aliens, or Alien, the original Alien, and I thought it was such a like great nod to that. And I know like you don't agree with that, but like to me, I was like that was like a full circle moment. You know,
dude, I wanted to like them because like that's my shit. Like a stalker type enemy. I love horror games. I love Mr. X. I love all that stuff. I didn't like the execution, but it was not enough to keep me from 100%ing that game. I think my biggest issue with the Emmy was that they kept me from doing what Metroid does best, which is exploring and solving puzzles. But that's just my thing. You know?
I think to me it was just a new kind of puzzle, and once you've solved that, there's an extra exploration aspect to it.
I felt it was way too random with a lot of the reaction times for the counter. It was very trial and error based in the worst way.
That was great. You were punished for getting caught by the Emmy, and it wasn't supposed to be easy to get out of it. And I think that was
why let you get out of it at all? Then why let you get out of it at all?
I love the Emmy counter. It feels so awesome
damn good.
Like, it feels good when you guess right and get out of it. Yeah.
I'm getting it twice in a row.
I came into the Shacknews Slack the first day after I started the game. I was like, "Hey, guess what? I defeated the first unscripted Emmy on my first try."
I remember my feeling after I beat the first Emmy. I'm just like, wow, this really highlights the weakness of the control scheme.
It sure fucking does. It sure fucking does.
Aim and like, oh god,
the Emmy plus the controls.
I'm just stunned.
Real fun.
Someone could 100% that game and not beat Briefcase level 8 in Super Mario Maker. That's so weird to me. Like did you just enjoy the 100%ing of it?
I really did.
That felt good.
It felt good. It felt very, very good. And and Briefcase
clown car. That's all.
I do not know how to handle a clown car. I will readily admit that I will not. Oof. But despite my
vehicle in video games than the damn clown car.
I think Ozzy might have a valid point there, Osif. But Blake, to your point, TJ as well, like it totally gets my nomination. Again, I don't 100% a game if I'm not having fun, and I loved much more of Metroid Dread than I disliked.
And there are so many factors at work here. Like, I've mentioned this in another category. Mercury Steam has a handle on this formula.
Yes, they do.
And nobody got to see it. Like, not enough people. A criminally low amount of people got to see it when they did it for 3DS.
Great game.
And for them to get that second chance, which another factor here that I want to point out is that I feel like the Games Done Quick crew are doing a service to the Metroid series every year by building the hype, by giving so much mystique to that.
Save the animals goal or let them die goal. Like, that's, to me, like, I never missed the Super Metroid run.
And it usually main events those events, and there's a reason for that.
Which is so weird that there's no Metroid presence at all in Awesome Games Done Quick this January. But that's another story.
No Dread?
There's no Dread. There's no nothing.
There's no Dread, and like I don't know.
Wow.
They got nothing.
I follow Void on Twitter. Like, I don't know if you've seen his times. Like, there's people out there that are beating this game in like an hour.
Dude, I had so much fun. I spent hours on YouTube just watching people work on speedruns. It was super fascinating to me. Yeah. Sorry, Ozzy, go ahead.
I do wonder if they'll surprise us and like added it every last second as an incentive run.
I will totally watch that. I would
love to watch Dread be speedrun.
Hell yeah.
So like, you watching this Games Done Quick? Do it.
Yeah, please.
Yeah.
Anyone else have a nomination? I'm just curious.
TJ,
I'm gonna throw one out in honor of Sam that I actually agree with, which is Halo Infinite. And I know I'm not the right person, but I'm also the right person to make this nomination. I'm not the right person because I don't know the Halo franchise as well as a lot of you, but I'm also going to argue that makes me the right person because for my entire gaming career, before I ever thought that game journalism was an actual profession people could do, I had a roommate that played Halo. And I thought, I don't know what this is. He seems to love it. Cool, whatever. And I got exposed to a little bit of Halo here and there. I never thought Halo was good. And I've heard nothing but people talking about how bad Halo has been for probably a decade. Like all the Halo releases, everyone's just talking about how Halo isn't what it used to be and they can't recapture the original magic that I admittedly missed out on. So when I loaded up Halo Infinite with Asif about 2 weeks ago and played it, I was like, holy shit, it's actually good. This thing that wasn't even dead to me, but I didn't even know was ever alive. That's a comeback. Like, to go a decade of having people just Halo fans talk about how bad Halo has been, and to then come back and not only modernize it so that it works in 2021 as a shooter, but also still remain true to what people loved about the original Halos. I thought that was a major comeback. Like that spoke to me and gave me more respect for the Halo franchise than I've ever had.
Bill makes a really good point with that, because I had two friends that were obsessed with Halo during the Xbox days, like, you know, the LAN parties and playing until 4. Like, I didn't have an Xbox or internet connection at that time, but they would just play it and talk about all they talked about, even with Reach. And then as 4 came out, they were like, oh, and then when 5 came out, they like wiped their hands, or like, we're done. Like, they called it quits. And it's been a long time since we've had a 5. It's definitely a solid nomination.
My Halo opinion for the last decade has been informed by Halo fans telling me that it's currently no good. Because I haven't played, like, I mean, we played them with the Stimulus games, I think, right? We did.
Yeah, we did. We played Halo 2 in the Master Chief Collection during the
But
Stimulus game.
99% of everything
all
I
your
know,
asses except for Sam and maybe Donovan one time.
99% of what I know is just folks who loved Halo telling me how bad it's become.
Mm-hmm.
And so to see everyone just freak out about how good the Halo Infinite multiplayer is, like, that has had a massive impact on
every
my
indication
impression
from Sam, our reviewer of the game, is that the single player is also a huge step forward for the franchise.
And like Halo is something that we wrote off. Like part of it we did just to give Sam a hard time, but there were good reasons to write this game off. Like the production looked like it was really troubled. Halo 5 was by most accounts pretty terrible.
The lead dev left, the creative director left.
Yeah,
they had to delay the game. Like,
and Master Chief Collection was given like no respect at launch. Like that thing was just a sparking pile of ones and zeros.
Twice, David.
Twice.
Once on console, and then once again on PC.
I hate the PC launch
twice, and then they did that staggered PC launch, which was even more annoying. Yeah. And the bugs in the Halo 2, I can't remember what it's called, remastered or whatever. Like, there's 2 ways to play Halo 2 in the Master Chief Collection. The remastered version was the worst version of Halo I've ever played. And Halo 2 is my favorite game in the entire franchise's history.
It's a lot of people's favorite.
Yeah, so for them to make a version of Halo 2 that just made me hate it, I was shocked. I was like, I don't know how you did this, but yeah.
And on top of that, like, Asif, you can speak to this as well. We've seen that a shooter like Halo's time might have come, because we've seen newer hotnesses come along, and we've seen other franchises like Gears come out with new games that have been no good.
Yeah,
and we kind of thought that the same thing was going to be the same case with Halo. And
I think why Halo is I would argue maybe a better nomination than Dread or the Metroid franchise is that there hasn't been a Metroid game where I felt as bad as I did about the MCC or Halo 5. You know, like Halo's franchise is coming off a much lower low than Metroid was. Metroid was more of a forgotten, underrepresented franchise, and Nintendo is full of those, right? Whereas Halo was really on the ropes. If this Infinite did not work and it failed, that might have been the death of this franchise. So I think that's a very solid nomination.
I think it's unique because something that I think about, and I often do this with a sport, but looking at Halo, like, it feels like Halo has struggled for longer than it's been a champion. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, Halo has been struggling for so long that struggling is more of Halo's identity leading up to this launch than being successful was. To me, at least, because that's all I've ever seen is Halo struggle. And like, I think it was awesome that you made this point, and I don't remember the deliberation, or even if it was, but talking about how this might have been it. Like, if you didn't get this one right, like, that's a comeback. Like, this is career ender, you know, just to kind of, for lack of a better term.
to be honest, I feel the same way about Metroid.
Yeah.
Between Prime 4's troubled development, if you took that and then Metroid Dread flopping, I think the Metroid franchise would probably be done as well.
Yeah.
No,
That's
I think you're right. The stakes were very similar for both of these games.
That's something that was
Halo Infinite was being pushed for years, whereas Metroid Dread was here you go, kind of a surprise.
Well,
and Nintendo straight up scrapping Prime. Yeah, you're right. I think that's important context to put in for before you vote. Does anyone else have a nomination?
Well, I did want to say one thing for Metroid Dread is that, like, what I was getting at earlier, but I never quite finished my point, was that it took a lot of things coming together in a perfect storm at one point for Metroid Dread to work so well. That was, I mentioned it, Mercury Steam having a handle for this formula, the game's done quick, people building the mystique of the Metroid series and keeping it alive over the years, the phenomenal success of the Nintendo Switch and that install base, all of those things, I would say, had to be perfect working cogs in this situation for this to be the success that it was. The fans like me and Blake and David, we would have played this either way. But like to get this series out to the uninitiated, there had to be a lot of things that worked perfectly.
Yeah.
And I think that makes it all the more incredible.
Yeah, it's the most successful Metroid game ever at this point, right? Yeah.
Yeah, they haven't officially announced. Like, I know it came out in an interview with Doug Bowser. He was talking about North American sales of it. Nintendo will announce the actual unit sales of it, including this holiday quarter next year. And I think that'll be that oh my god moment where we're like, wow, this was really offensive. Yeah. This was like a huge moment for that series.
I feel like
Halo.
TJ, Halo's gonna
points for sound there. I agree.
Yeah, I feel like Halo's gonna Halo no matter what. I think it's great that they've finally turning the Halo franchise around, but it's like for Halo, it's more like, oh, Halo's back to being Halo. You know what I mean? It's
I would
not
actually.
It's not pushing Halo forward. It's getting Halo back to a point of quality.
Yeah,
that's you would say it came back.
Well, here's the thing. That's true. But the thing is, like, I think, you know, Asif, you said the stakes were high in both situations, and I agree. Yeah. But to Blake's point, I think what he's trying to say is that Metroid was never this commercial darling.
It was not a 10 million unit seller.
No,
it was 2.8 million was the best it ever sold. No, I get that. I get that. But for a comeback to happen, you have to have been there. You know what I mean? So like, this is like,
critically,
I honestly think Metroid Dread is maybe the best surprise of the year. It's maybe like the best Nintendo Switch game of the year. Like, there's other categories where I'm like, I'm going to be pounding the table on Dread. I have a different nomination here.
We'll also be pounding the table for Halo, potentially for best multiplayer. So there's that as well.
I might have a nomination here. Does anyone else have a nomination? I just want to let everyone else get theirs out of the way.
Well, I think that the cases for Metroid and Halo have been so strong that it's going to be a two-horse race. But it's worth mentioning, there was a lot of pressure on Double Fine to nail Psychonauts 2. And that game has been crowdfunded for like almost a decade. It's been delayed all to hell. It finally came out this year, and it's on my Game of the Year list. Like, it's an incredible game. And for them to finally nail this, and not only that, but to also get it to keep their promise and to make it multi-platform, even almost 5 years after the Microsoft acquisition. So good on Double Fine, and good on them for making me want more Psychonauts after this. I don't know if we're gonna get it, because Lord knows the second one took this long, but you know what? This is a good year for them.
So I don't know. I feel like it would be wrong of me not to mention this entity in this category in this year of our Lord 2021. Let me tell you a story about a little video game retailer that was on the ropes last year. We're talking market capitalization of maybe $200 million last year. Maybe. COVID shut down the entire world. This company was going bankrupt. It had $700 or $500 million of debt. They were hemorrhaging cash. They had no business surviving. I'm talking.
They
about
still
GameStop.
have no business surviving.
I'm talking about GameStop here, Ozzy. Ozzy, you may be right, but guess what? They actually have a competent leader there that took advantage of whatever the hell happened in January, and they paid off all their debt. This stock was $2. It's now $170.
Yeah, people turn it into a meme in order to make a grander point about the stock market. Nobody did it because they were confident in GameStop and their leadership.
Bullshit. Go watch DFV's videos. It was not. This was about fundamental investing at $2 a share. This was a fundamental story. And I don't know how you can look at a stock that was about 6 months from bankruptcy that is now valued at $15 billion and has no debt. It went from 200 million to 15 billion, and now they have no debt. And they're actually growing.
GameStop was an endeavor that Reggie Fils-Aimé walked into. Was there a few months and said, "Oh fuck it, I'm out. See ya."
No, that's not it at all. You're so wrong about this. It's not even funny. Who put Reggie on the board? George Sherman, who was maybe the worst CEO in the history of the company. When he got his ass kicked out by Ryan Cohen, they had to replace the board. I guarantee you, when Bobby Kotick leaves, you're going to see other board members of Activision leave too, and they should. But the GameStop board was a bunch of clown shoes in 2020 or 2019. This is actually a competent C-suite now. You have former Amazon people. You have former Chewy people there. You have a company that's actually transforming itself into a digital retailer that does better fulfillment of day one games than Amazon in some cases. Like, this is a comeback. You may think it's stupid. You may slap the meme label to it, but you sound like mainstream media when you do that. There are a lot of meme stocks out there, but there is one GameStop, and there's one DFV, and there is one story that won't go away this year. It's not, no one's talking about Bed Bath & Beyond. No one's talking about GoPro. No one's talking about Nokia. And the people who are talking about AMC are jaboofers. So it's like, GameStop is not a meme stock. GameStop is a fundamental story. And that's what people don't understand. Like, there were more shares shorted in this company than exist. It's not a meme, Ozzy. The financial system literally broke. The rules of the game were so flawed that GameStop is the symptom of a ton of corruption on Wall Street. And yes, it has been used as a vehicle from some activist individual investors to vote against the system and to vote against hedge funds. It has become the poster child of investing against a hedge fund. Even though there's stocks out there with higher short interest now, if you believe the GameStop short interest. But I cannot look at this chart from $2 to $500 and be like, oh yeah, that's not a good comeback.
I think factually,
that's an unprecedented, historic comeback that no one saw coming.
It is factually a comeback. Like, by definition, it's a comeback because you're referencing facts. Like, they had X amount of debt, now they don't. They were worth X amount of dollars, now it's multiplied by whatever. They replaced their board. They reinvented the way that they do business in terms, like, moving to more digital. Like, whether people vote for it or not, I think factually it is a good nomination.
Oh, like, I have no doubt in my mind that people are not going to vote for this. I have no doubt. But I think it would be remiss of me not to mention this, considering I've been probably reporting on this more than anyone else in our industry. I know more about the stock than anyone else in our fucking industry. And it is at its core, it's a fundamental story.
It is true.
A real story. It's not a joke.
We can debate about whether they deserve that rescue or not, but
they don't at all.
But it is a comeback.
They totally don't. But the fact that it happened is what we're talking about.
Yeah, I've been writing the news on that topic long enough to know, like, that this. Okay, so here's the fact. Like, here's an analogy. They were essentially a corpse that got dragged back into the ring, hit with a shot of adrenaline by forces that, like, were operating, but in with ulterior motives. But nonetheless, they got that shot of adrenaline, and the important thing is that they didn't waste it. They didn't get up swinging wildly.
That's my point.
They used that energy smartly.
So many companies saw their stocks go to the moon in January and did not raise capital, did not do something.
Yeah.
AMC, man.
Yeah,
like, you look at how GameStop's board has handled this is amazing. Like, they played this perfectly, and they're still playing it perfectly. And if you want to talk about a transformation, look, I don't like NFTs. I only own Dogecoin. That's the only crypto I own. GameStop is about to launch an NFT marketplace. If you want to talk about a transformation going on there, to realize that brick and mortar retail is probably not the future of your company is not a bad idea. But like, that company is so drastically different than it was a year ago, largely due to Ryan Cohen taking a chance. You know, that's what investing is about, is taking a calculated risk. And everyone who bought GameStop a year ago did that. And Ryan Cohen did that at $8 a share. And it's sitting at 172 right now. Yeah, he owns 13% of the company. This doesn't happen if Ryan Cohen doesn't show up and do this, you know? But the fact that he did, and he, instead of being full of himself and saying, I must be CEO, he brought in people he trusts who are competent to help a transformation here. I think it's undeniable that it's a comeback. It's not going to win this award because no one else listened to me when I was buying it, but you know, it's fine.
I bought AMC like a chaboofer.
Yeah, seriously. Because it's optically cheap. And that, real quick, optically cheap stocks all rallied at the same time, right? So people look at GameStop at $170 and they're like, oh, I'm going to buy AMC because it's a $29 a share. But Greg, what is it? What do I always say?
Share price is meaningless.
Thank you. Because it's about how many shares there are. And like this, what has happened here with the meme stock revolution is a ton of people who never invested in their life have gotten into this. But how did GameStop get to this position to begin with? Because Robinhood was giving shares out to anyone who signed up for free. And they gave out too many shares, obviously.
You know,
if you own something on Robinhood, you don't own anything. Just letting you know.
Sort of to your point, Asif, like the thing that's different about GME with these other, I guess compared to, you know, my nomination, other nominations, is this had a huge effect outside of the gaming industry too. Like all of a sudden, people that had never day traded like a single day in their life were like trying to get in on this, like the stock wagon, you know. It like
gains, you know, Keith Gill's gains from $50,000 to $90,000 investment to $55 million has created a gold rush, and everyone else wants to be the next Keith Gill.
Yeah,
that's undeniable.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you there, and like I agree that this was it's just GameStop from a stock perspective definitely like bounced back in a lot of ways.
Even the company has. Like, what has happened here? I believe it was on that fateful day where they turned off the buy button, or the day before. 900,000 individuals traded GameStop. 900,000 people. And a lot of them still own this stock. And guess what? It's like me when I was long Apple. I would call it my reverse Apple dividend. I would shop at Apple because I knew that it would come back to me through investment. You now have this legion of fans of GameStop that did not exist a year ago. Like, people, like, go look at any of their tweets. Go look at the engagement on any of their tweets. And oddly enough, they saved Game Informer too. Like, we saved Game Informer. We like individual investors saved a company. Admittedly, not many of them realized why they were doing it. Some of them were chasing momentum. But at the core, this was about a potential turnaround. You can go watch the videos of DFV from almost exactly a year ago, or September of 2020, where he talks about the next gen consoles and how you don't want to be short GameStop ahead of a new console cycle.
Yeah, it also
all that came to fruition. It took a while, but it did.
It also mess with like hedge funds and stuff like that too.
Hedge funds have there are hedge funds that have shuttered because of this. There are people who have been fired because of this, and it's not over yet. This is still going on. Like this is now a long-term story. This is not a story like I think a lot of people in our industry thought this was going to come and go in January, and that was it. A lot of my colleagues working the beat for you know how many of our colleagues DM me asking for color on how to report this? A lot of them thought this story was over when it fell from 500 to 40. And I was like, I was like, look at the short interest. It's not over yet. But yeah, I obviously this isn't going to win, but I had to at least nominate it.
It's fair enough, man. I think there's some good points to it too. I think it deserves a nomination.
I think it's silly to act like it's not a comeback, though. Like it is.
Oh,
it may not be deserving of one because of the behavior before, the way that company operated that got them to $2. Probably not deserving of this. But the sum of the parts analysis done by Keith Gill and a lot of other investors early on in this was all sound. And it played out. His thesis played out. It's undeniable. I think that the company is now set up. It was a going concern a year ago. It is no longer a going concern. And to me, that's a huge comeback.
Yeah, I think that's fair enough, man.
But yeah, I don't know if anyone else has a nomination.
Is there anything? Yeah, is there anything else, or are we good?
It looks like we're good. Okay, so let's vote. Let's start with Chris. What you got?
I think I'm gonna go with Double Fine. I haven't really cared much about their games in almost 20 years, and Psychonauts 2 is wild. It had every chance to fail and fall along the way. And it's just magnificent for a studio I haven't really cared about in ages.
That's another thing. There's a lot of people that missed out on that first Psychonauts, and that game makes you want to go back and experience it.
Yeah,
for the first time.
That's a good one. I'm voting for GME, obviously.
Yeah. Oh man, I gotta still give it to the Metroid franchise. I love it too much. It's too near and dear to my heart for it not to get my vote. Yeah,
Bill.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go with what I originally put, Halo Infinite.
Look, all these are good nominations, by the way.
Yeah.
Like every single one of these had a comeback this year. Ozzy.
I never do this, but I am so split between some of these choices that I'm going to pass for the moment.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Okay, TJ.
Metroid Dread. It was the perfect storm.
Metroid Dread, perfect storm. I agree. Everything you said, TJ, is dead on. And I'm obviously a Nintendo fan, and I'm happy to see Metroid get this kind of love. As a fan of other Nintendo franchises that may someday get new games. Greg.
Oh God, yeah, it's a lot of good nominations, but I guess Metroid Dread. I'm gonna go with Metroid Dread.
The Metroid
franchise.
Metroid franchise.
Yeah.
Dread is the reason it came back, but the award is going to the entire franchise here, if it wins. But it seems like it's going to. Donovan.
I got to go with Halo. I didn't really get a chance to talk about it, but I mean, you just look back like a year ago when everybody was making like the Halo Infinite jokes, and that entire IP was circling the drain, and now it's been thrust back into being one of the darlings of gaming again. So 100% Halo.
I'm gonna add Sam to that. So Sam also votes for Halo Infinite here, or Halo the franchise. So we are missing David and Ozzy's votes here. David, would you like to go?
What was Denny's vote? Did Denny have a vote?
I don't think so. I don't think he expected not to be here, so...
Yeah. I think Denny really would have voted for GameStop.
Go ahead, David. You go first, and I'll weigh in if I have to.
Asif, is it weird that I want to vote for GameStop, but I don't want to vote for GameStop?
No, it's like the most...
That's why I'm sitting here.
Nonsensical thing to ever like. I've been an investor for 20 years. GameStop is by far the weirdest thing to ever happen in the stock market. Ever. So no, it feeling conflicted about giving them an award for anything. No, that makes perfect sense. I felt conflicted when I bought the stock. I was like, what the hell am I buying here? Why is it? I remember telling Bill, I was like, my best investment idea right now is GameStop. And that's troubling.
You bought the stock and then told me not to.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a little like Bison Bucks, because it's like
it's not worth it's printed on.
And I didn't listen to you, and now I'm waiting on Rumpo Island to be rescued.
Yeah, you're up in the 300s. You're up in the 300s with a lot of bag holders. It's tough.
I'm staying
there. That's the thing. Like, this is not. It's not been a cash machine. If you've held GameStop for this whole year, you've been through the ringer multiple times.
But
David's really thinking about this.
You can tell.
Can I haven't done this yet. Can I pass the Bison Buck to Ozzy? See what he's thinking?
It's down to me.
It's a double pass. You can't pass again. You have to.
No, I won't pass again. I'm still thinking.
You can't just sit here passing back and forth between you.
Hey, Ozzy, buddy. We're friends, right? We're pals.
Yeah, we are.
Don't you love Metroid?
This is such a tough one because I want to vote for. I want to say Metroid. I want to say Halo, and I want to say Double Fine, but.
Oh, hey! Did I mention you're looking particularly handsome today?
Just because we gave Sam such a hard time, I'm gonna say Halo.
Yeah. Halo. Okay, David, you have an opportunity to cause a runoff vote.
David,
if you choose wisely here, you will cause a runoff vote. If you don't, we know who wins.
I feel like one of the points of these deliberations is to be open to having my mind changed. And
my mind was certainly changed.
Yeah. And I don't feel great about it, but I will vote GameStop.
Wow.
No, they're all good. Wow. They're all good votes.
And like I said, I think Denny would have voted for GameStop too.
Denny told me. He said,
hey,
Metroid.
Like,
vote for Metroid for anything that I didn't leave.
I'm pretty sure Denny would have voted for GameStop.
I mean, he came to me. He was like really serious, and he was like, "If anything happens,
I have some good news for Sam." 4 to 3 to 3 to 1.
Damn, that's a split vote.
Closest vote yet.
Very close vote here. Halo franchise wins the Shacknews Award for Best Comeback of 2021.
We built this facility off the grid to train the next generation of Spartans. To be a Spartan, you must become the impossible.
Greetings, Spartan. It would be my pleasure to serve at your side.